Thank you so much for the invitation. So I'm here representing the Alva Myrdal Center for Nuclear Disarmament, and that is a government-initiated Swedish center based in Uppsala with the aim of spreading information about nuclear disarmament through research, teaching, and outreach. So first, I would just say a few words about why we need new nuclear diplomacy data. We have seen a quite dramatic increase in the number of interstate conflict. The new release from the Uppsala conflict data program shows that the number of interstate conflict for the third consecutive year have doubled. And we have now seen so many interstate conflicts since the end of the Second World War. We also see a dramatic increase in UK capabilities in the use of nuclear threats, especially by Russia. And we also see the increase in risk of proliferation, new countries discussing the potential to establish nuclear weapons programs. In parallel with this, we see a decline in arms control agreements. For example, the last bilateral strategic agreement between Russia and US, New START, expired earlier this year. And we see that some of the biggest successes that we have had in non-proliferation agreements, the non-proliferation of Ukraine with the Budapest Agreement in 1994 and the JCPOA agreement with Iran in 2015, have been violated by those that have been participating in it. So in this alarming international context, we are now building out the infrastructure for data on nuclear diplomacy. And when we talk about nuclear diplomacy in this regard, we talk on a wide range. We talk about international state-based attempts for arms control, non-proliferation, and disarmament. We examine this also in a broad array of different formats. So multilateral negotiations with many different states, particularly within the context of the United Nations. Bilateral agreements, most prominently between US and Soviet and thereafter Russia. And then country-specific agreements. And within the AMC, we now have two larger data resources for this, the AMC agreement database and the NUCNEG dataset on negotiations. And the AMC agreement database is particularly focused on the content of agreements, and whereas the NUCNEG is designed more to capture the process. So first, the AMC data then that looks at more on the content. This is a broad collection of systematic access to 121 agreements, not only nuclear agreements, but covering both weapon of mass destruction and conventional weapon. And it has a very broad range, starting in 1817 and being continuously updated. It provides standardized summaries for each agreement in terms of treaty obligations, verification processes, and institutional associations. And in the bottom of the screen here, you can see the different functions that is now available for this data, which is open and available. The data portal, the visualizer that allows for possibilities to present the data. And then the profiles of the different agreements and the possibility to actually get access to the different agreements. We also have the NUCNEG data, which is then examining the process of negotiations. Here we have collected 45 processes that we follow over time, and you can see here on the screen the visualization of that. breaking down into 1,547 negotiation episodes, and basically rounds of negotiations where the same participants are met at the same physical location. And here you can see how this is distributed over time in terms of the negotiation episodes, and you can see a worrying declining trend of negotiation episodes. We have built up the basic infrastructure for this. So we have sort of the skeleton of the data, so to say, with the time, the place, the identity of the negotiators, the level of the negotiations, who are sharing the negotiations, civil society presence, and then linking it to specific processes. But as we move ahead, we plan to also broaden the scope of the sort of variables that we include here to make that even more theoretically and policy-wise important. There are different ways to conceptualize success in negotiations, and the key takeaway of this is that previous research have used different indicators of how to think about what is a successful process. We study here processes that lead up to agreements, but then also those negotiations that follow after negotiations. And that has to do with implementation and review of agreements. And you can see that there are the different agreements that exist have reached different levels of success on this kind of ladder of success. And previous research points to that this is explained by both structural factors and process factors that needs to be taken into account. So the key takeaway here is that we from the AMC now is contributing to the field with better infrastructure that can help us to incorporate the study of process and content of nuclear diplomacy. We hope that this can allow for comparative approaches, which has not dominated nuclear diplomacy research up to now. We think it's important to have a longer time horizon, since some of the current challenges that we face right now, we need to go back in history to learn and take evidence from that. We also think, and I want to caveat that and sort of that underline that we realize that the quantitative analysis here have limitations and needs to be complemented by qualitative analysis. So in parallel, we are working on documenting different processes in more qualitatively and look at the key conditions for effective nuclear diplomacy. And we just released a book on this, which is posted here. Thank you so much for your attention.